ACF Chefs Forum. We're excited to have experts here with information just for you, the leaders and future leaders of the food service industry. You're in for a real treat today as we have some great presenters who will be sharing information on business, baking, and expanding and improving your presence on social media. As chefs, we need to harness the power of our personal and business brands beyond our kitchens, and this can be accomplished by building skill sets to include blogging, search engine optimization, and food photography. So a big thank you to our partners at Retail Bakers of America for bringing us this much-needed educational opportunity. I'm Jackie Pressinger, American Culinary Federation's Director of Strategic Partnerships, and I am delighted to welcome you to this special presentation. Today, we'll be taking questions for our featured presenters live during the webinar as we are able. Please use the chat function to collaborate with other chefs and culinary students tuning in, and the Q&A function to ask questions to our guests. Okay, so let's get that conversation going in the chat. If you haven't already, please let us know where you're tuning in from today. Let's meet today's moderator. Chef Marissa Veely is the Certification and Education Director at Retail Bakers of America, RBA. She is a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America in Baking and Pastry Arts and has also earned her master's degree in food studies at NYU, where she focused her research on culture and gender in the professional kitchen. Chef Marissa has worked for notable pastry chefs and most recently worked as both a food writer and adjunct professor at the CIA, where she taught baking ingredients and equipment technology as well as gastronomy. I could really go on and on. She's such a talented chef and professional. But at this time, please join me in welcoming Chef Marissa to kick off our webinar and to introduce our other speakers. I'm passing the presentation over to you. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, Jackie, for that really wonderful introduction. Also, thank you to the ACF for doing this education collaboration with the Retail Bakers of America. For those who are not familiar with the Retail Bakers of America, we're a national nonprofit trade association that focuses on supporting the success of the baking industry. We are a community of bakers, educators, business owners, allied members, cake decorators, and students from all across the country. It is our mission to provide a community for idea sharing, networking, mentorship, and support education excellence in the industry. We've got a treat for you today, two queens of business and social media, Sid Mitchell and Kimberly Houston. Sid is a bakery consultant and the business coach behind SweetFest, based in Atlanta. SweetFest is an online company that supports the business needs of the sweets community in areas like professional development, marketing, branding, and web design. By trade, Sid is an accountant and financial analyst. She is also the founder of the Sugarcoinscom Academy, an online business academy for business owners in the baking and sweets industry. And she is also the organizer of the Ultimate Sugar Show, Georgia's largest annual baking and sweets expo in Atlanta. In addition, we have Kimberly Houston here. Kim Houston is the Cordon Bleu certified pastry chef, educator, and author. Over the last 10 years, Kim has many accomplishments. She has built 2 online baking academies, 3 blogs, an inspirational podcast, 5 online master classes, content creation business, and a digital photography studio. She has published 2 books, including a baking textbook for kids and teens titled Teach Me How to Bake. I'm going to hand it off to you two ladies. Sid and Kim, about harnessing the power of social media for your business.
Thanks so much, Marissa. That was such an awesome introduction. I totally appreciate that. And Chef Kim is behind the scenes, and she's going to pop in a little bit after I talk a little bit more about social media. And so I know today we're talking about harnessing the power of social media. So I will be speaking on that part, and then Kim will be talking about the imagery and the photography side because she is a professional photographer. But a little bit about me. I am Sid Mitchell of SweetFest, and my background is in finance and accounting, and I found my way into this industry kind of by happenstance. I was connected to a couple of bakers who were starting different businesses, one out of their home and one had a storefront, but then they both had questions about business, and magic happened after that. And I started an Instagram page, and it kind of blossomed from there to having in-person events and live trainings and blogging and so forth. And so that's me in a nutshell. And basically, You can find a little bit more about, the trainings that I provide and all that good stuff over on Sugarcoins.com, which is the academy that has basically all the different trainings that I've provided over the past few years. So, but to get started, I have this whole approach in mind as it relates to marketing. Like, I do a holistic approach. Right now, we're just going to talk about social media, but you can use so many parts of marketing to reach out to people in your business. That's email marketing, that's blogging, that is, sending out, social media posts and so forth. But today we're just going to talk about specifically social media. All right. And so I want you to get out of your head, because I feel like this happens so much in our industry, where we just get in our head of like, what should I post? I feel like I should be on every platform. I should be doing TikToks, and maybe I need to lip sync some things. I need to be on Instagram. I need to be on Facebook. I need to be on all the places. And so I do want to kind of put your mind at ease to know that you actually don't have to be on all of the platforms all of the time. Now, I would highly recommend that you have a handle on each of those platforms, so you claim the name that goes along with your brand. So even though you may not post TikToks at all or ever, maybe you just grab your handle on TikTok, so that eventually one day, if you do decide that you want to do TikToks, then you'll already have that handle, or so that someone else won't steal it from you, just like it would be with your domain name on social, like on the internet. So I just want to put that out there of like, don't feel like you have to be everywhere all the time doing all the things. Okay. Also, I know that so many people who you start off your business by yourself feeling like you have to do all the things. That's another reason why I'm saying you don't. All right. So I highly recommend that you pick the platform that you want to kind of really engage on and build a community on. So if you feel more comfortable on Facebook, or if you feel more comfortable on Instagram or YouTube or whatever the different platforms are, then focus on that and put your attention there and publish content there that adds value to your community. Okay. Also, don't forget the social part of social media. So I feel like so many times you find businesses in this just on social media that are just trying to sell you something all the time. That's not actually what social media is for. Now, yes, you can place an ad on social media and you can promote your business there, and then hopefully you can get some leads and hopefully people will purchase things from you. But actually, people are on social media to learn things, to be entertained. And so consider that when you are creating content for your business. You want to be social, you want to build community, you want to share things on a regular basis that adds value to your customers, okay, and to your potential customers. So keep those things in mind when you're trying to figure out what type of content to share. I do have some notes here, and I feel like I've skipped all over the notes, right? I have actual bullet points that I need to stick to if I want to stay on time. Okay, so pick a platform that fits your brand and target that audience. All right. And so, like I said, if you feel comfortable on Facebook, then maybe you share on Facebook, but also realize that multiple people are across different platforms, right? So I'm assure you that if you have a Facebook page, you probably have an Instagram page. You may not have a TikTok page, but you may have younger people in the crowd that may actually focus more on being on TikTok for hours and hours, right? So you just want to figure out what audience you're trying to target. And that's how you're going to pick the platform that's probably going to work best for your brand. But also, if you are a one-person show, then again, focus on maybe one, maybe two platforms and just go hard in the paint. It's a basketball reference. And just, put that content out there in that one particular place. Don't feel like you have to be all over the place. Also, I do get a lot of questions about frequency, like how often should I post? And again, if you are a one-person show, or maybe you have a small team, don't feel like that you have to post something every single day on all of the platforms either. As long as your social media account looks like it is staying current, especially if this is the one that you have chosen to be most active on, then make sure that you post at least weekly, if not every, a couple times a week, so that people at least know that this business is still in business. And I think one of the things to even consider now, especially after we've gone through the pandemic, is that there are a lot of businesses that didn't make it through the pandemic. And so if you have a social media account and you haven't posted on there since 2020 or 2019, then people are going to just assume that you may not be in business. And so if you can at least keep content consistently once a week, or, at least every month, at least put information out there on your account so that people know that this is still a business that exists, right? The other part too is that most of these platforms have where you can post in your stories something really quick. So something that you post on your feed on Instagram, maybe it's something that you want everybody to see as soon as they come to your page. But maybe there's some things that you want to share, a day in the life, or some other fun content that's going on behind the scenes. That's going to be a perfect place to share in your stories. And that's something that doesn't exist forever unless you put it in your highlights. And I'm really specifically talking more about Instagram here. Let's see. Okay, so as it relates to how do you pick the platform that's going to work for you, like I said, figure out where your audience is, the demographic that you're looking for. There's going to be more younger people on TikTok and Snapchat than there are on Facebook. Facebook is going to be like my age or a little bit older, so like millennials and maybe a little bit older, and maybe a couple of folks a little bit younger than me, so like maybe in their late 20s or so, and then going up. So if those are the people that you want to target, they're definitely going to be on Facebook. All right. If you want to post content that is longer format content, so maybe you're sharing tips on how to plan a wedding or tips on how to place an order. If you want to do something that's longer than, 2 or 3 minutes, then YouTube is actually going to be a really great place for you to post that content, especially if this is content that people are searching for. So think about this. YouTube is owned by Google. All right. So if people are Googling, bakeries in my city, or, how to plan a wedding in my city, or whatever it is that they're Googling, more than likely the video that's going to pop up is going to come from YouTube before it is going to come from Instagram or from Facebook. Okay. So if you know that you are trying to target people on Google searches, YouTube is going to be the best platform for that. Or as well, don't forget that Google My Business is also a social media platform as well. So My Business page, definitely write that down as a note that we need to create a Google My Business page. That's going to be a perfect place where people can leave reviews for you, and they can, you can get feedback from them, and you can also showcase your new menus. You can add links and so forth. Okay. Let's see. So YouTube is good for search. Facebook content is really good for shareable content. So if you have something that people are going to absolutely drool over, or if you're trying to get the word out on, a local event or something like that, Facebook is going to be a really great place for that. And then your shorter content is going to be good for Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. Let's see. Also, don't forget when it comes to social media, like I said, be social, but also if you have the ability to share a link, make sure that you share that link. That link is going to track back to whether it is your website or a place where they can purchase a ticket for an event, or just a place in general where they can learn more. All right. A lot of these social media platforms, they only allow you one link. They don't allow a clickable link within a post unless it's Facebook or YouTube. But Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, those type of things usually have like one link. All right. And so you want to make sure that you optimize that link. So using a platform such as Linktree or link in bio is going to help you with being able to share more than one link at a time. But if you are using these other platforms that help you with sharing multiple links using one link, then you want to make sure that you keep that Linktree or that link in bio updated. All right. So for instance, if you are doing some type of holiday sale, whether it's Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Christmas, whatever, you want to make sure that if you are sending people to this particular link, that the links behind that are updated and sending them to the appropriate places. All right. Let's see. Oh, also, don't forget, and I'm throwing all this out here, don't forget that you want to make sure that people know where you are actually located. All right. On your social media, you want to make sure that they know where you are actually located. And that is because there are people from all over the world who could potentially see your post. So let's say you post something on Instagram saying, hey, pop by our shop today. We have bagels on sale, right? Come to 123 Main Street. And that's all you put. All right. There's a million 123 Main Streets all over the world. Okay. So you want to make sure that you say in your individual post, the main city where you're located or at the metro area where you're located. So for instance, with me, if I have a shop in Marietta, then maybe I also put Marietta in the Atlanta, Georgia metro area or something like that, right? But also keep that in mind. I feel like this is something that people forget a lot of times, even on their websites, they forget to actually put where they are physically located. And even if you work out of your home, you still have a location that you service, okay? So make sure that you put that information in your post, on your social media account, just even in your profile, so that people know that this is where you are located and they can go down that rabbit hole once they figure out that you are actually closer to them. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Also, so if you have a website and if you have a social media page, which I think you should have both, then you want to make sure that they work in connection with each other. So for instance, let's say you are selling something. Like I said, I don't want you to sell all the time, but let's say that you are promoting something on your social media page. When someone clicks a link and ends up going to your website, it should be very easy for them to know exactly what it was that you were promoting. So Mother's Day ideas or Father's Day things or Easter or whatever the thing is, then if you have a very similar post, like the same image even, that goes from your social media to your website, then that's going to be easier for people to follow. And you want to make sure that the purchase process is as easy as possible, that you don't have to go through a whole bunch of hoops and buttons and all that kind of stuff to get to where they can purchase from you. Make sure that it is extremely straightforward. Okay. Let's see. Another thing too, like I said, don't always sell, but when you're not selling, I want you to make sure that you are adding value and sharing content that will be of quality and of interest to your audience. Okay. So whether that is planning tips, whether that is party ideas and inspirations, whether that is showing your process so that people can understand that you are very knowledgeable with, with whatever it is that you're doing, or, whether you're showing, how fresh your ingredients are. Maybe you're going to a farmer's market to purchase new ingredients, something that gives them an insight into your business and also helps them understand how they can purchase from you, and that you are the person that is, or you're the business that is adding value for them. And then finally, focus on your imagery. And this is going to lead right into Chef Kim, right? So you want to make sure that you have good quality photography, videography. I'm not saying that you have to, work with a professional photographer. You can take a class such as Chef Kim. She teaches photography, even with phone photography, but just make sure that you have really good lighting. And I'm sure she's going to share all those tips about how to take really good pictures and get really good imagery. But just know that if you take a picture of a cupcake in a very dark, maybe kind of not clean kitchen, it's not going to attract people in the same way that cleaning out your background and having really good lighting and maybe having a beautiful drizzle is going to attract people more than one that has been taken in a really dark kitchen. Okay. So make sure that you have really good imagery, especially for social media. Yes, you can, you can partner with, a photographer to take professional photos for you. You can partner with other collaborators, influencers that can actually help you with that as well. Or you can educate yourself and provide those pictures for yourself and videos for yourself for your social media. And I think that's a wrap. I actually made it through all the notes and then some. I hope I just didn't throw it all at you guys. But please let me know if you do have any questions as well.
Thank you so much, Sid. Now we're going to pass it over to Kim. We'll save the questions for the back end. So take it on, Chef Kim, and then we'll wrap it up with questions in the end.
Cool. Hello, everyone. So I am Coach Chef Kim. I'm going to explain that really interesting title that I have. But yes, I am actually a chef. I am a Le Cordon Bleu trained pastry chef. I worked in the industry for a decade prior to being injured on Thanksgiving Day of 2020. And what ended up happening was that morning I woke up, I was totally fine. By the time I took the turkey out of the oven, I was feeling a little weak. I almost dropped the turkey. I called for my kids to help. So my son ended up taking the turkey out of the oven. And then over the next couple of hours, oh no. Okay, we're back. Sorry. Okay, so over the next couple of hours, things just kept declining. And so by the time we got home that evening, I could not turn a doorknob. I couldn't hold a cup. I needed help dressing and undressing. And that was almost 2.5 years ago. That is still a problem now. So this is something I'm still dealing with. And from what the orthopedic surgeon told me, it was because I ignored my body telling me that I needed to stop for so long. So like if your back is hurting or your shoulders are hurting or your hands are hurting, you're like, oh, it's just carpal tunnel. It's not a big deal. Okay, so I'm here to tell you it's a little bit of a big deal. And that completely changed my entire life, right? So once I did this, I went and saw the orthopedic surgeon. She was like, you need to close your business effective immediately. And I was like, I can't. Like, I have an order for the Real Housewives this weekend. I need some help. And she was like, okay, no problem. I'm gonna give you steroids for 7 days. And in 7 days, you're going back to a pumpkin. And that's what happened. So at this time, because we were in the middle of the pandemic anyway, I had already started brainstorming new ways to make money, right? So because the bulk of my business was servicing celebrities in Atlanta, they weren't having 300 people at a party. And I was like, well, I need to make up this income. So I moved into food photography. So moving into food photography was probably literally the best thing I could have ever done in this particular moment of my life. One of the things that happened, so she was like, you have to close your business. You can't do this anymore. And I was like, okay, cool. That's fine. I was unaware that there was an entire world of people who purchase food photography. And I was introduced to this world at the end of 2020, and it completely changed my life. And I was like, okay, so the things that I realized were, how like if you Google a recipe, more than likely they didn't create that. They bought it from somebody like me. Now, here's where this gets really interesting. I train not only people who want to do what I do, but people who still have bakeries or restaurants. Like I go into restaurants and teach the staff how to take photos of food. As Sid was discussing, your lighting is important. So like today, it's overcast, it's cloudy in Atlanta. That is perfect for taking photos. Most people will be like, don't you need the sun? Absolutely not, because the sun is going to get in your way and it's going to give you really harsh shadows. So a day like today, where it's cloudy, the clouds are already hiding the sun, perfect day to take a photo. One of the things that I tell my students all the time is we can add light to a photo in editing, but taking it away is going to be a little harder. So a lot of people have this idea that you should have your flash on when you take a photo. Please don't do that. If you turn the flash on, you're going to get a shadow that we can't get rid of. If you are using these large lights to take a photo, don't do that either. It's going to give you too much light. The other thing that I teach is you can use a regular ring light, right? Like a standing ring light, not one that's attached to your phone. And here's why. The ring light is going to act as the sun. The sun is not in your house, ever. So if the ring light is the sun, there's no reason for you to have a light coming directly on top of food. You want the light to come from the side. So if the light is coming from the side, we are going to light the photo from the side. And then you can put up like either a piece of white paper, a piece of white cardboard, or if you get really fancy, you have surfaces like I do, and there's a white bounce board bouncing the light back into your photo. And then you take those photos and you like put them into an editing software like Lightroom or Snapseed. And then you can lighten your photo, right? So people are like, oh my God, doesn't that take forever? Actually, it doesn't. It takes you maybe 30 seconds to light your photo. And then you can take that photo and put it online. Now, when I went to culinary school, one of the first things our chefs told us was people eat with their eyes. So not only is it important that your food tastes good, it must also look good. Now that we're in this post-pandemic world, you have to think about this. Most people stopped doing like in-person tastings, right? Like, we're going to box this up and I'm going to give it to you. Well, how do I get more people to look at my photo online and go, ooh, that looks really delicious. I want to eat this. You can take that with your cell phone. As long as you have a cell phone that has been created within the last 2 or 3 years, you're fine. Even though I am team iPhone, if you have an Android, you have a far superior camera. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm just throwing it out there. I am team iPhone, but I have an Android in my studio to take photos because the camera quality is just better. So it doesn't matter which one you're using, iPhone or Android, you can take a beautiful photo. The other tip I give people is do not put portrait mode on. Yes, it is great to have the creamy looking background, right? Some of your photos can have it. All of them don't need it. It's just not necessary. If you want to blur out your background, get closer to the subject, like physically move your body closer to whatever you're taking a photo of. That's going to blur out all the other stuff behind you and focus in directly on whatever it is you want to focus on. And also never use Zoom. Those are like hardcore do's and don'ts in an easy way of doing food photography. The other thing you have to think about is this. Your photo needs to tell a story. So you're not taking a picture of a cake or taking a picture of, some dessert table setup or anything like that. You're telling a story. So when you're telling a story, and like everything behind me, the only one that was shot with a DSLR was actually this one. And that is avocado ice cream. There's avocado in the picture, even the one that has the little twinkle lights in the background, and it's a funnel cake that was shot in a really dark warehouse. And we just used some Christmas lights and then we lit it just a little bit. Everything else happened in post editing. You can take a fabulous photo as long as you understand you're telling a story, right? So I could have just taken a picture of the funnel cake. But where do you get funnel cake? You get funnel cake at an amusement park, right? So think about what happens when you get funnel cake. You can smell it. You can almost taste it if you just think about it. You can hear the excitement in the air, right? Your photo needs to do the same thing. You're not just taking a picture of funnel cake. We threw Christmas lights in the background, and that automatically transports you to an amusement park. Think outside of the box. And how do I tell the story of whatever it is I'm trying to show you? Now, speaking of telling your story, you need to understand who you're talking to. So I'm not going to take a photo if I'm a teacher or if I'm an instructor the same way I would take a photo if I am someone who is trying to sell you a cake. Okay. So as a cake and cookie artist, I would have taken the photo of the full cake because that's what I want you to see. That's what's going to be on your table. As an instructor, I'm actually going to take pictures of the end process. I'm going to take pictures, even if I show you the cake, like on this one, I cut the cake because I want you to come and take my course. I want you to come take my class. I want you to understand I'm not just teaching you how to make something pretty or appetizing, but I'm giving you a whole lot more in the process, right? If you just look at a unicorn cake, okay, that's cute. But when I cut the cake open, every layer was a different color. That's two different products. So you have to think about, who is my audience? What am I trying to say to them? And make sure your photos do that for you, right? So I teach all these things. I have multiple classes, but I teach all those things like that. There's a new photography site coming out in a week that will give you tips and tricks on how do you do this with your phone, because going through the process of learning DSLR, having lights and doing all those things, that's going to take you forever, right? Like, you will be sitting there learning a whole new industry when you really just want to take a really nice photo. So if I can give you tips, the first thing I would say is this: if you are someone who doesn't like being on camera, you don't have to. You can take pictures. You can take a whole lot of pictures, and then you can put those pictures into apps that will turn them into video. So one of my things was, I didn't necessarily want to be on camera all the time, because I'm always in my kitchen and I'm always like cooking or baking. And I was like, well, today I'm not cute enough to be on camera. So what do I do if I just take a bunch of shots while I'm working on this and then I post that? I'm going to tell you 2 apps that you should get immediately. Okay. The first one is CapCut, CapCut. CapCut, if you're on TikTok, you already know what CapCut is. It's the one where all the trending things are coming from. CapCut will change your life. You can take your photos, put them into CapCut, and then CapCut will turn it into videos. The second one is Lifelapse. So Lifelapse. Lifelapse is my favorite, simply because it turns your photos into stop motion. Who doesn't love a stop motion video, right? So I do that all the time. So if you're taking like a pour shot, think about when you're looking at magazines, cookbooks, things of the sort, right? We call it the bite shot. So it's the shot where you're either taking a bite out of something, there's a fork where you've cut it off, you're pouring a drizzle. It's something that's like super, super satisfying. That particular shot, you have to take multiple photos to get it. So I realized that if I'm taking, and this is when I put my phone on burst, this is the only time I'm going to use a burst, is if I'm pouring something, pancakes, syrup, something like that. I put it on burst, I hold the camera in place, and then I just let it take it while I'm pouring. That's not a really nice video, honestly, but it looks great as stop motion. It looks phenomenal as stop motion. And there's a lot more interaction that happens between me and my audience, because now my audience wants to know, how did I do that? And so it gives me an opportunity to share, well, this is how you do that, right? So now I'm providing education for my audience, which is why we're using social media. So if you're thinking about what your purpose of social media is, if you are selling something to people, like if you're a bakery, you want to make sure your backgrounds kind of stay within the same color story. You can get backgrounds in your brand color. That's super simple, super easy to do. That's one way to keep a cohesive looking Instagram page. Now that Instagram has decided we're bringing back static photos, because for a year we were doing reels every single day, right? So now we're back to static photos. You can mix and match this. Make sure things are flowing. Make sure things look a particular way, and make sure it matches who you are as a person. One of the things that I struggled with when I had to close my business was an identity crisis, because I created a brand around baking. Like, I was the kid chef. Everybody knew who Chef Kimmy Who was in Atlanta. And then when Chef Kimmy Who was no more, I had to figure out, what do I do and how do we transition this? And in that transition, I really found my voice. And it was, I'm not just Chef Kimmy Who. I am a chef. I'm a photographer. I'm a mother. I'm a blogger. I'm all of these things. And so my social media shows that to you. There's just, like, you're not confused when you come to my page. I do all the things, and that's okay. If you do something specific, tell people this is what you do. The other thing, and I want to say Sid might have told me this a couple of years ago. I remember when I was getting like all wedding cakes and I was tired of doing weddings. And I was given the advice, well, only post what you want to do. Okay, we're back. I'm sorry. My street has a lot going on. I just heard a crash outside. So hopefully we don't lose the internet again. Fingers crossed. One of the things that I learned was start photographing what you want to do. Like only post the things you want to do. And not like the things that you're getting, right? So as a kid chef, I did a whole lot of Mickey Mouse, a whole lot of like Little Mermaid stuff, right? Like the kids' things are the kids' things. Well, I don't want to keep posting that. I want to do something different. And so I was like, okay, let me start photographing the things I want people to order from me. Guess what happens? People will order the things that you show them and not the things that you're doing. So definitely think about that when you are taking photos, when you are thinking about what you want your feed to look like. If you're doing static posts, you don't have the pressure of, I need to do reels every single day. No, you don't. You can take a picture of like the behind the scenes very easily. Throw in a little bit of lighting, throw it up, and that's your post, right? So I try and post at least every other day. Particularly if it's a static post. If it's a reel, at the end of the week, take all your photos from the week and just do like a roundup. Here's everything I made in my kitchen this week. That becomes your reel. Very, very simple, very, very cool. So those are just a couple of different ways that you can kind of like mix and match what you're doing. I definitely take all of my static posts and I post them on Facebook. But that's where my audience is. So my audience currently are bloggers, as well as brands. They have their spies on Facebook, so that's where I post. They're not really on Instagram looking for me. I am what I consider a behind the scenes content creator. You don't need to know I made it, just know somebody bought it from me. And so when you're doing things like that, know where your audience is, know where you need to go, and also understand you don't have to do the dancing and the lip singing and all those sorts of things. That's for entertainment. Are you an entertainer or are you a chef? Like, that's the question you need to ask yourself. You also have to realize that just because you have 10,000 followers on social media or more, that doesn't mean you have money in the bank. I would rather have money in the bank than have a whole lot of followers on social media. So you have to take your pick. What am I doing this for? Am I trying to be seen by Food Network or whatever, these other places? They're looking for people who have the personality, so show yourself, but they're also looking for really great photos. Like, they just are, because when they interview you, they're going to ask you for really great photos of your stuff. So you may as well go ahead and start now. Start building this portfolio of things that you can do, things you're interested in doing. And that is going to help you build this incredible brand that people do not have to question if your stuff tastes good or not. It won't matter. It looks so great. They want to have it at their next event. So those are actually all of my notes. So I'm not sure if we have questions or not, but I'm going to throw it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chef Kim, and thank you, Sid. We do have a lot of great questions here submitted by our audience. The first one is, are there benefits to paying for sponsored social media posts, and any tips or best practices for that?
So I'll take that one. So there are benefits, but you want to make sure that you kind of narrow down who you're trying to target and who you're trying to reach. One of my pet peeves is when I see an ad on my Instagram feed that is for a place that is in New York and I'm in Georgia. Like, Like, I can't get to you. I think it looks delicious. I would love to have a slice or whatever, but I just have to flag you for the next time I'm in New York. And so you want to make sure that if you are spending funds, that you have a direct pitch, like it's going to somewhere. People know exactly what it is they need to do. They need to sign up for your email to get a coupon or whatever, but you also need to make sure that if you're going to spend that money, that you're not wasting it on people that are not even going to be able to spend money with you.
Great, thank you. And the other question we have here, is it possible to overpost? Like, how much is too much? What do you suggest for the quantity of your content?
Let Kim talk about that. She looks like she's ready.
I feel like we're going to have differing opinions on this. So this was something, if you don't know who Gary Vee is, I love Gary Vee. And Gary Vee literally just answered this question like a week ago. In today's day and age, there's no longer a such thing as overposting. And here's why that is. Particularly if you're on Facebook. How many times you've been on Facebook and you see something from 3 days ago? And you're like, what the? 3 days ago? Like, I really wish I would have known that you were doing this 3 days ago, right? So just because you're posting doesn't mean people are seeing it. So more than likely, if you're only posting about something, like if it's a sale, right? Like this is time sensitive, you need to be posting a lot. Because if you're not, people are going to see it after it's over and you're like, oh my God, no one likes my stuff. No, oh my God, no one saw your stuff. So the new thing that we're being told right now is post when you need to post however much you want to post. The people who need to get the information are going to be dialed into you. So post more.
Just to follow up on that too, how do you ensure that you are attracting the right audience when you're posting? Because you can, have, like you said, lots of followers, but how do you know that the right people are receiving your content?
I'll take that one.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So you want to be very intentional about the type of content that you're sharing, right? So like Kim said, I did give her like a tip years ago about like, stop posting wedding cakes if you don't want to do wedding cakes, right? And so in the same regard, if you want to have more wedding clients, then post more wedding cakes. Don't post the baby shower cookies because you're not really interested in doing baby shower cookies. So that, and then also making sure that you are intentional in the captions, saying where you are located and what you offer. Like, you want to be able to have in the caption something that's fun and attractive as well. That's maybe just tells a little bit of background about, this was the wedding cake for so-and-so. They've been together for so-and-so many years and, whatever. But then you go on to say, and, if you're planning a wedding in Atlanta, Georgia, then, we can help you out with that too. So, you're being very specific. And then also you can tag locations as well on most social media posts. And so that's also going to help Instagram or what most other platforms be able to serve out content that is relevant to that particular audience, right? So if you are tagging, and even if, like I said, you work from home, you have a, home-based business, you can still tag just a general, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, or a general Greensboro, North, or whatever, but, making sure that you are tagging a location that will help tremendously with getting people in your low geolocation, but also serving up content that your audience is actually looking for.
And I'd like to just, go back just a little bit, just for very basic social media. Can you explain a little bit to everyone here what exactly hashtags will do for you, what exactly tagging someone will do for you, kind of the difference between those things?
Yes. So when it comes to hashtags, and okay, so the whole theory and strategy behind hashtags have changed a little bit. Before, it was like, well, you want to, if Instagram allows you 30 hashtags, you need to use all 30 hashtags, right? And now it's like, just pick the top 3. Personally, I use somewhere between like 15 and 20. I'm not okay with just leaving it up to just 3 general topics. Okay. But imagine that you want to be able to categorize your content to meet people's needs that are looking for something specific. So let's going back to a wedding, somebody who sells wedding cakes. You want to make sure that you are using the hashtag wedding cakes or wedding cakes Atlanta or weddings Atlanta. And I'm using Atlanta because, that's where I am. But, you want to make sure that you identify that, because those hashtags are connected back to people who are typically looking at things in that bucket. All right. So for instance, I'm on this health and fitness kick. I'm watching a whole bunch of health and fitness videos. And all of a sudden now that's all I get, right? That's like I'm getting anywhere between babies and health and fitness right now on my Instagram page. And that's because I keep looking at content that is associated with that bucket. Well, in order to get your content associated with that bucket, that category, you actually have to use that hashtag on your post and on your content. All right. And then also as it relates to tagging and putting in your locations, as you are posting on social media, you will have an option to add a location or to tag other people or their brands so that you can affiliate your post with those other accounts. So for instance, if you are trying to get a brand deal, kind of like how Chef Kim was talking about, let's say you have a recipe that you're sharing and it's got Hershey Kisses, it's got Pillsbury, something that you used in it, and then it's got Merkins. I don't know. I'm throwing up a whole bunch of stuff, but they all have accounts. All right. And so if you want to get their attention or you want to get the attention of their followers, you can tag their accounts on your post as well. And that gives you more of an opportunity for eyeballs to get onto your content.
Great. Thank you. We have another question here. We have a couple questions about scheduling, kind of planning out your posts, time of day that might be best. And if you do schedule them in advance or kind of post them on the spot, and how do you recommend organizing your social media plan?
Kim, you want to take that one? You look like you were thinking real hard.
So, yeah, okay. Because this was a question I had before I started taking beautiful photos. Okay. So I'm a level with you. This is not coming from a social media guru. This is coming from someone who understands consumers. When you are looking at social media, everything doesn't have to be strategic. The reason it doesn't have to be strategic is because as a consumer and as someone who worked in retail for 14 years, there are trends in fashion, right? Like bikinis are out in December. That doesn't make sense, but it does in the retail world because you need to get that bathing suit in December so that you can post it and you have all those pictures on your refrigerator. So all year long, while you're doing your workout stuff, it's because of the bathing suit you bought at Victoria's Secret in December, right? Like there's a reason that people market things the way they market. So you can't look at social media as though it's this big, scary thing. It's not. Number one, people want to know that you're a person and that you're not a big company. There's a difference. I do not expect the local soccer mom who just started her baking business to have the same amount of social media influence as Oreo. They have a whole team of people that can do that, right? So don't try and become what you're not. Present to me who you are. Like, just show me who you are. I post when I want to. Every time I have attempted to schedule out, my social media posts, they bomb. It's the worst. I'm like, 3 likes. Are you serious? Yesterday I got 100,000 likes. Like, what is this? I post when I want to. And it took away the pressure of, oh my God, I need to be on social media all the time. I just got thrown in Facebook jail this morning. That's literally never happened. And now I'm like, oh my God, my Facebook audience can't talk to me. It doesn't matter. I'll be back tomorrow. Like, it's fine. Now I'm going to go spend my day on TikTok. It's all good, right? I'm going to go talk to the people on TikTok who follow me. But because I have beautiful content, My top viral post right now on Instagram is from November 11th. It is a post from 11/11. It is, people are still commenting every single day. Y'all, time is a construct. Like, none of this matters. I did not think that post would go viral. It is the most random thing. And I was like, well, we still out here changing lives since November. Like, my kid had surgery. She's fine now. Like, we've moved on. But in social media world, it is still changing lives. Stop overthinking it. Like, make a beautiful post, be intentional about your post, but take out the whole, I have to post it this time. No, you don't. Post when you want to post it, because there's no reason people are still engaging with something from November 11th at 11/11. It doesn't make sense. So, like, let go of that. Post the stuff. Is more important that you're posting than when you're posting. That's my take on it.
That ties in really nicely, I think, to what Sid was saying earlier about the quality of your posts, not just being about sales, right, but being social. Do you have tips on how to kind of bring out that social engagement? Do you have, in terms of kind of what those tips, those posts should look like?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I love to see is when people hit on hot topics, like hot takes, right, on things. I posted something on my Facebook page randomly about carrot cake. And what exactly goes in, like, what do you put in your carrot cake? Is raisins, are raisins supposed to go in your cake? And from that, everybody had an opinion, right? Like, everybody had a thought on, like, no, when you do that, it's hummingbird cake. And when you do this, it's this type of cake. And I just thought that was so interesting that it just, it's not to say that you want to be divisive or polarizing on your content, but it's also, trying to figure out, like, what are some things that people will actually have an opinion about, right? So we're getting ready to go into March, and March Madness is going to be a thing. So people who, if you live in like, I went to Chapel Hill for school, right? So, like, if I had a business in North Carolina selling, whatever, then maybe I would make a bracket, right, of, different treats that are available in my business or something. But that's because that works really well with what I already have going on, and it makes sense in my community. Right. And so, asking questions, like, don't just, first of all, that's another thing too in itself, right? In your caption, if you actually ask a question, you're more likely to get people to engage with you on whatever the thing is. And even if you ask the question, then maybe you come back on your personal page and you respond as an answer underneath your business page of whatever your feelings are on that question to get the conversation going. And then also, don't be afraid of asking your other friends who are also on social media, hey, I need some help with some engagement over on my page. Can you go ahead and answer this question? And you can swap that out as well. You be engaging on, like, I'm engaging on Kim's page and she's engaging on my page. And so we get the conversation going that way. And then people feel less of a barrier to continue to contribute to the conversation. Other people who may not have normally, they didn't want to be the first person to respond, right? Like, nobody wants to be the first person to respond. So, if I have other friends who are coming in and helping with the conversation, that'll also get the ball rolling as well.
Great, thank you. We have another question. You had mentioned there's still, so many different ways to post to different, Instagram stories or Facebook stories versus posts. How would you best utilize those two different features?
Kim, you want to take it, or I can take it? It's fine.
So I use all the things, right? So So here's a little thing I just discovered, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago. Okay. So how, like, when you're getting ready to do a reel or a story, you have the option of doing a filter. So I have a favorite filter on Instagram, and there is not another platform that has a filter that makes me look as beautiful as this particular filter. Okay. So I will record as though it's a story using the filter. Now, you have to do this before you post it, because if you post it, it's going to download without sound, or you're going to have Instagram's logo in there and TikTok is going to suppress you. Okay, no. So you record it as though it's a story. And then you just click the little arrow button to download it. So now you have a video. You can now take that video, and I will post it as a story on Instagram with the link. Like, here, go join my current challenge I have going on, right? But then I can take it, I can make it a reel. I can put it on TikTok. I can actually turn it into a short on YouTube. I can put it on Pinterest. And if you are selling wedding cakes or kid stuff, you need to be on Pinterest. You need to be on Pinterest more than you need to be on Facebook or Instagram, because Pinterest is now a search engine. It works just like Google. So if you don't know that, that's my little tip to you. Get on Pinterest. That will throw your sales up in the air. Anyway, moving on. Etsy works the same way too. Moving on. You have to look at these things for what they do, right? So do your research on where do I need to be? And if people want to know me, people buy from people. So Chef Kim shows Chef Kim more often than I'm going to show you food, right? Because people like me. They're like, oh my God, you're so fun. I feel like I'm talking to you. Well, that's because all of my content is curated as though you are sitting in my living room. I am not talking to 10,000 people who follow me on TikTok. I am talking to you as though we right here together. And that's how you feel when you engage with my content. That's why my following went up, because you felt like you were in the kitchen with me, right? So again, that's the difference between entertaining people and engaging people. I am not an actor. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to engage you in conversation. So take all that out and just be like, look, let's have a conversation and watch how people start to respond to you. And yes, I actually use that terminology. I think I put that on Facebook before they threw me in jail this morning. I don't know. Maybe Facebook didn't like it, so don't do that on Facebook. But on Instagram, it works really, really well. You're like, hey, let's have a conversation about XYZ, and people engage.
And then also, like, just on a high level as it relates to the feed versus the stories, typically I look at the feed as my portfolio, and I also archive stuff when I'm done with it. So for instance, as I post a flyer, like if there's a pop-up or if there's an event or whatever, then I'll post that in my feed. And then when it's done, I archive it. So, you know, it's not like the profile, the portfolio part, your feed has to be permanent either. But so I post things in my feed that I kind of consistently want people to be able to see and know about me or learn from, just there. But then the stories, that's usually where I'm like showing personality. I'm doing something that's temporary. Maybe I'm going about my day, or maybe I'm in the kitchen that day. And that's just like, I don't really need everybody to see that in 2 weeks. So I'm just going to let it be in the stories. But I have been known to also create highlights, which on Instagram, you can take your stories and then you can put in a highlight, and then you can have like a whole collection of your stories right there that you want people to continue to see. But again, to me, that's a little different than just putting it on my feed. It's a little bit more organized as well.
Great. So it's wonderful to get, positive interactions on social media, but how would you best handle either trolls or negative feedback on social media, since it's such a public forum?
That's a really great question.
Can I answer that from personal experience? So, okay, this happened to me, right? Number one, I have turned this particular incident into a podcast episode, a blog post, several TikToks. But when I did the gender reveal cake for Portia Williams, there were 6 photographers lined up taking a photo of said cake. The photo that went viral was from the photographer sitting on the floor. Not from the photographer that was standing up directly in front of us. It was from the one on the floor, okay? That means the perspective of that photographer was different than what actually happened in the room. So when it went viral, I was like, why do I keep getting all these alerts on Instagram? What's happening? people were tagging other bakers in Atlanta, like, you could have done this cake better. When she did Shamia's cake, it was fine, but maybe she was asleep when she did this cake. The stripes are crooked, the cake is leaning. I was like, oh my God. I had 48 hours to do a 6-tiered circus themed cake. And the lines were straight because the cake was styrofoam. I know y'all are kidding me. But when you do reality TV, you have signed things that tell you you can't respond to this, right? So my response was, well, I went viral on social media. I guess that means I made it. And people had a field day with that, right? And so this was like right before we had the Ultimate Sugar Show that year. And some of those bakers who were tagged, like, you could have done this better, came up and talked to me at the show. And they were like, your response to that was incredible, because I'm not sure if I would have kept my cool when so many, I mean, hundreds of other bakers were tagged, like, you could have done this better. And people were like, don't be messy. Like, don't do that, right? So you have to realize social media is like the new bully. It can work beautifully, but it's also that kid on the playground that was like bullying you when you were a kid, right? So you either ignore it or you're like, okay, all publicity is good publicity. Let me show you what we're going to do. Since you're here looking at all the rest of my stuff, I have classes. I can show you how to handle social media trolls. I just made up content around it, and it was totally fine. It grew my business. So I could have been like, oh my God, this is terrible. But the Real Housewives just kept ordering from me. So it was fine.
That's great. Thank you, Chef Kim, and thank you, Sid, so much. I hope that everyone watching now can master the power, harness the power of social media a little bit more effectively. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to pass the baton back to Jackie. Thank you so much.
Well, I wish we had 2 more hours. This has been so much fun, and I definitely learned a lot. So a huge virtual round of applause as we thank Marissa, Sid, Kimberly, and of course, RBA. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your skills and enthusiasm for the tech as it relates to the baking craft with the students and professionals tuning in today. So really great info, and I hope everyone will stay tuned. We'll have another great RBA ACF collaborative webinar, hopefully announcing soon. So please be on the lookout for the survey that you'll receive today or tomorrow with the recording. You'll need to complete the survey if you'd like to earn 1 hour of ACF CEH. And our next webinar, we'd love to have you join us on March 8th as we celebrate International Women's Day in collaboration with the James Beard Foundation and spotlight a panel of amazing and talented women working in the food service industry. And you don't want to miss our session on March 10th, where we'll be joined by a rising culinary star, dining room chef Nina Ryan, where we'll learn more about gluten-free pastry techniques live from the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. So please visit acfchefs.org and click on the events tab if you'd like to register for ACF National Convention, which will be in New Orleans, July 16th through the 19th. And we've also just announced our summer 2023 ACF Mastercraft Summit. So culinary educators, mark your calendars for this first Culinary Educator Summit. Will be held just for you on July 16th at the New Orleans Convention Center. And we've also announced our Culinary Medicine Summit, which will be held August 19th. So on behalf of the ACF National Office, thank you again to RBA. Thank you again to our guests for bringing us this delicious learning opportunity. And thank you for joining us today. We'll see you real soon. Have a great day, everyone.